Hi, Sally Ann here. What if the habit that could change your eating forever has nothing to do with what you eat, but how you eat? At the moment, you might be thinking, oh, I know I have to cut my sugars, maybe have less carbs, maybe have smaller portions. But what if none of these were the real issue? Today, I want to share a simple habit shift that most women overlook, yet it underpins everything we want to do with changing our eating habits. I was speaking with a lady recently on a free strategy call, and she told me she eats in front of the TV every night, never feels satisfied, never feels like she's had enough to eat, and just keeps going back for more. And she really believed that her problem was a lack of willpower. But when we looked closer, it wasn't about willpower at all. It is eating while we are distracted. And this might look like eating your lunch at your work desk. You have your eyes on the computer while you're eating your meal. You don't even taste your meal, and you may even go to have that last mouthful and realize that there's nothing left to eat. And I've done this too. Another one that women share with me is that they start snacking while they're cooking the evening meal. They might be chopping up the vegetables so they eat a few raw vegetables, or they might munch away on some cheese and crackers as they're getting the evening meal prepared. And something that's quite a natural part of preparing the evening meal or any meal is sampling what it tastes like. But sometimes our sampling can end up more like an entree size portion. So I dare say if you're snacking while you're preparing the meal, by the time the meal's ready, you're not that hungry. For some of my clients, it's getting home and finding themselves just picking at different bits and pieces of food in the kitchen. They say they sort of mindlessly wander around the kitchen from the fruit bowl, maybe to the nut jar, to the biscuit barrel. And you just don't realize what you're doing because it's all automatic. For one of my clients, she'd learned as a young child that reading a book and snacking was just bliss. It was switch off time. She would get into the story and snack away. But she didn't realize until she was older that she actually ate quite a lot of food when she wasn't hungry. And then, of course, when meal times came, she still wasn't hungry because of this snacking that had been happening while she was immersed in her book. And there's a couple of other ways that distractive eating might be showing up for you. Do you ever finish a meal and barely remember eating it? Maybe you find yourself looking for food in the kitchen and you're already full. And what this all means is that it's really not about the food that you're choosing to eat. It is your body hasn't got an opportunity or been given the chance to register that you have eaten because your mind has been literally elsewhere. So there's three main reasons why eating without distraction can cause us so many issues with our food. As I mentioned, the brain and body are disconnected. Eating becomes a background activity rather than the main event. Your brain doesn't register the quantity of food you've eaten. You don't even get to enjoy it. Your senses are elsewhere. Rather than picking up on the colours, aromas, textures and flavours of the food, you're watching something else, reading, or perhaps thinking about something else. And that's the same reason why you don't even know that you've completed your meal or snack, because you haven't been aware of the eating occasion. So your body naturally cannot respond to something it hasn't fully experienced. And with the role of a busy woman, and it doesn't matter whether we're at home working, whether we've got children, whether we're retired, women are very good at filling up their lives. And multitasking has kind of become normalized, whether you're caring for others or, like I said, working. then eating just kind of gets squeezed in because you've been taught to prioritize everything else, and eating is just secondary. This really fits into what I call the social drivers for eating. It's something that we've grown up with in our culture. And eating while distracted can be quite a powerful tool for some women. It's a way to unwind, it's a way to avoid those challenging thoughts and to soothe emotions that we find difficult. So often it's not about the food that we're eating, it's just become a habit of distraction from something else in our life. But eating with distraction comes with quite a few costs. The first one I've kind of hinted at. You never feel satisfied. You just keep eating because the natural mechanisms we have in place to recognize hunger, satiety, and fullness are not fully engaged because our thoughts are elsewhere. Our attention is on something else. You don't trust yourself with food because on the surface you just believe that you have no control over what you eat. You just keep eating. You might think it's the food. You'll probably think it is the food, and you'll start another diet. You'll remove those tempting foods from the pantry, the refrigerator, and the freezer. But whilst you keep eating with distraction, you'll still miss the hunger cues, the satiety cues, and the fullness cues. You'll also miss out on the enjoyment and the pleasure of eating. So if you're after some pleasure from your food, you're just going to keep on eating because you are not going to pick up on the sensory experiences of eating. And what happens over time? This creates a cycle where you feel disconnected from your body and stuck with eating habits that you don't want anymore. So the simple shift I'm talking about is to eat without distraction. I just want to clarify though, it's not about doing this perfectly. It's not necessarily at every meal time, but making sure you pick a time of day when you really do pay attention to what you're eating and how you're eating. And if this is new to you, you're not alone. Eating without distraction means sitting down, putting away the computer, the tablet, the smartphone, slowing down and pausing before you start to eat, and just noticing the sensory qualities of your food, what the food looks like, the aromas, the tastes, and the textures. This is just the one habit I want you to shift. Eating without distraction is such a powerful tool, and it can have immediate impacts on your eating, even when you have emotional eating habits. I recall working with a woman who always overate in the late afternoon because it was a stressful time of the day for her. And her go-to foods were savoury crackers. When I met her, she told me about this one particular eating habit that really concerned her, and she really believed that she just needed more willpower. But what I suggested she try was to eat without distraction, even in the afternoons when she was reaching for her crackers. She was so surprised when we returned for our second call. She said to me, "Sally-Ann, I don't even like the taste of those crackers." Yet it was not unheard of for her to eat a whole box of these crackers when she was stressed. By being more present, being more mindful, that means eating with attention, she ate less of these crackers. In fact, those crackers didn't even get purchased soon after we started working together. But the real importance of identifying this stressful eating habit was that she could actually choose other things to do, but also work on lowering her stress levels throughout the day. What other women have shared with me about eating without distraction is that they feel full sooner. They actually notice when they've had enough to eat, so they eat less. Enjoying food more is a common one. Oh, I didn't realize, what my fresh tomatoes really tasted like, or I didn't realize how sweet the chocolate was, and I realized that I only needed a couple of squares to satisfy what I was really looking for from the chocolate. In the past, that same lady could have eaten a whole block of chocolate in the afternoon. So that's what I'm saying. This switching to eating with attention or eating without distraction is really quite powerful. It also stops ladies going back for more food when they're not hungry. It also has encouraged ladies to eat a meal that satisfies them so they don't have to snack afterwards. For each of these ladies, nothing changed about the food. Everything was about the eating experience, and that was to eat without distraction. What eating without distraction, or as I said, eating mindfully, does is it allows you to build trust with your body. When you pick up on hunger signals or satiety signals, you listen to them, you follow them because you know they work. You'll find yourself moving away from that dieting mentality, whether you have to void something or restrict something, or you feel good or bad because of what you've eaten. With time and support, that dieting software can actually be fully removed. It does take time because for most of us, that's our go-to guideline when we think about eating. As I've already mentioned, eating with attention is the first step in reducing emotional comfort and stress eating habits. And you're able to do this because you recognize the different triggers that lead you to want to eat certain foods. And you're able to put other strategies in place instead of eating to soothe emotions and transform any of the challenges that you're facing. But what most of my clients tell me is that they become calm and confident around food. And this is what allows them to set up healthier eating that lasts, those sustainable habits to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied, but also to choose the foods that really nourish you. So this is where confidence with food begins, not from rules, but from awareness. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have time to just sit and eat. I feel uncomfortable sitting still. I'll get bored if I just eat and don't do anything else. Well, I've always eaten this way. I don't see why I should change. And all of those feelings or reactions to the idea of eating without distraction have come up for clients that I have worked with. And what I've encouraged each of my clients to do is to move into curiosity and actually challenge some of these beliefs we have about food and how we eat and ask, I wonder what might happen if I was to eat my breakfast without the radio on. I wonder what would happen if the family ate the evening meal without the television on or without individuals scrolling on their phone. And also to consider what the benefits would be to actually change your eating habits long term. And if it was to simply get started with the habit of eating without distraction, then what would that mean for you? Would you have more energy? Would you feel more comfortable in your body? Would you be able to take better care of your blood sugar levels? So I propose you ask yourself that question, what if I ate without distraction? Now, it may seem uncomfortable at first. You might feel restless. You might have the urge to grab your phone. You might notice all of the thoughts popping into your head. You might notice some eating habits that you find challenging, like going back for seconds when you're not hungry or reaching for chocolate when you're stressed. I just want to say that this discomfort is not unusual, and it's only coming up because you're taking notice. It's very similar to all mindfulness activities. I remember when I first started meditating, I didn't realize I had so many thoughts in my head and how random they were, how contradictory they were. And that's what the mind is, unless we direct our mind to focus on what we want it to focus on. So this discomfort that might come up, it really isn't a problem. Yes, I understand it can be challenging. It's really just information. And if you really want to set up healthier eating, but find that you need some help sorting through what's coming up for you, then please reach out for support. You're not supposed to know how to sort this on your own. And you're most welcome to book in for a free mindful eating strategy call with me. And what you'll get from that is a personalized plan that will look at some of the challenges that you're facing and what small steps you can take to start setting up healthier eating that lasts, just removing the challenges one by one. So if you've been feeling out of control with food, maybe it's not really about needing to take control at all. Maybe it's just giving yourself the space to actually experience eating again. And that is by eating without distraction. If you're interested in finding out more about eating for you and mindful eating and living, then I really encourage you to check out the Your Health Hub. And I've left the link in this show's notes. You're also most welcome to email me a question or book in for a free strategy call if you know that you are ready to set up a way of eating that will last for you. Thanks for listening today. And if you have found this episode of benefit, please let us know and please share the link on your social media pages. You can also subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. I look forward to sharing with you again next week.